Man, those heads are clean. I love that. What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the LS Swap Shop. My name is Hefe, or Jeff, or whichever you prefer. My friends call me Hefe, and it's spelled with an H for a reason. I might get into that later, but today's the day. Let's throw this 5.3 liter back together and get it done with. Let's build this engine together, and I'll explain how to do it the right way. I think I like to pride myself on doing things the right way and doing them once and stuff like that and whatnot. So as far as I know, I'm doing it the right way. If I'm not, then let me know in the comments and I'll try and change what I need to change. And if I don't need to change anything, then awesome. But I like to do it this way, and this is how I do it, and I'm working with what I got. So, and I guarantee so are most of you. So anyways, I got my heater under this. I don't know if you can see that, but it's my little propane heater. Yeah, you can barely see the little top of it there, but it's just heating this block up a little bit. I want to get it up to about 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Right now it's about in the 50s. I believe it's like 52 degrees because it's a little chilly in this garage here today. But I'm doing that so that I can measure all the main bearings properly. Unlike the last video where I kind of just skimmed over it and didn't really torque this thing all the way down. But what I like to do is throw all them caps in there with the bearings, get them torqued down, and then heat the block up. That way they kind of, the holes don't really get bigger. They kind of, the metal expands and they kind of tighten up a little bit. So we're doing that right now. And then I think while that's going, we can go through a parts list. And all the parts that I have down here, I don't know if you can see that, but there's boxes and boxes and boxes of brand new rebuild parts. There's a brand new oil pan and, you know, Felpro gaskets, new main cap bolts and stuff like that. So enjoy the intro. You've seen it 1,000 times, or maybe 2 or 3 times. I might switch it up again. What do you guys think about the intro? Do you like it, or are you not? There's kind of a lot going on. I just kind of made it with my TikTok reels and stuff, but maybe I don't really have much other footage to use. So let me know what you think about the intro in the comments. Enjoy. I like it a lot, but it's up to you guys. Anyways, we'll come back and we'll go over some parts. All right, guys, before we get into the parts, I got to throw these main caps and bearings in here so they can heat up with the rest of the block and whatnot. So I'm going to do that real quick. Oops, why am I slamming everything? I've seen people lube the backs of these bearings, and I don't understand why. Nobody really gave me a good explanation on why you would put lube on the back of the bearings. I don't know. I don't like it, so I don't do it. So I'll just throw these in there just how they are. And the thrust bearings, yeah. The thrust bearings on these LS engines are fairly important. They stop the crankshaft from, it moves a little bit this way and that way, but they stop it from kind of grinding on the sides of the bearing cap. What are these called, you guys? The bearing sections. I don't know. Anyways. They have a thrust surface. If I can get these open, I can show you. Come on. There's that one. Man, I love shiny new bearings. But unlike these guys here, let me pop one of these out. I mean, most of you probably know this stuff, but I really go very in-depth in the explanations on what everything is, even though most of you guys probably already know what everything is. But you never know when somebody's going to be watching my videos trying to learn everything because they don't know anything. And so I love that. So, you know, so I'm going to explain this to you guys like you don't even know what this is. This is a bearing. So normally when you think of a bearing, you think of like a, you know, a skateboard wheel bearing. It's got balls in it and whatnot, or a needle bearing or something like that. But these are they're made of softer metal than the crankshaft and the block itself, so that if they do end up seizing on there, they won't cause too much damage to the crankshaft or the block itself. But what these do, basically just stop the crankshaft from touching the hard metal of the block and the caps and whatnot. And yeah, so a thin film of oil builds up on this and allows the crankshaft not even to touch this. I mean, sometimes it does when it's under extreme load and whatnot, but the oil protects the two metals from touching, and the clearance is very thin. But the thrust bearing, this is just a regular main bearing here, and it has no sides on it like the thrust bearing. This is the number 3 position thrust bearing, and it has these thrust sides on it, allowing the crankshaft, if it needs to touch the side a little bit. And you know, it doesn't actually touch because the oil will stop it from touching, but it allows, this stops the crankshaft from going any further in either direction, so that the crankshaft doesn't touch the unprotected sides of these. That's my explanation for it. So you could look it up on Google and get a real explanation, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's the basic explanation of it. So okay, those are in. Let's get the cap bearing, the bearings in the caps and whatnot. And make sure you put these in the right orientation. This is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So just make sure you get those in the right spots, or else the bearing clearance will not be right at all. I have a video about that, saying that I skipped a step. You guys probably seen that. I skipped a step to save time, and now it's costing me more time, was the beginning of the video. And really all it was I didn't measure the bearing clearance like I'm about to do now, but I measured the crankshaft, and it wasn't damaged or whatever. It was still within spec. So that usually, in my experience, that means it's going to take standard size bearings. So what I did was I just threw the crank in there after measuring the crank, ordering the bearings, getting everything prepped and whatnot. And then what I did was just threw it together, and the crankshaft would not turn at all. And I was like, oh no, I ordered the wrong bearings or whatever. And I'm like racking my brain. I'm like, why? I don't think this thing should take oversized bearings or undersized bearings or what, you know. So immediately right after I figured out that the crank wouldn't turn, I made a video about it. And I'm like, well, I messed up and I made a mistake and didn't measure the bearings and blah, blah, blah. And that's what the video was about. What really happened though was, you know how I set my stuff on the bench, how it needs to go back. I think what happened was that I started grabbing from this end, and I put that, this is the number 5 cap, I put it on the number 1 spot. And I grabbed the number 4 cap and put it in the number 2 spot, and like just started working backwards. And I didn't really even pay attention to that until after I made the video, when I was taking things apart. I hadn't torqued the bolts down at all. I hadn't even spun them in there. But I started taking the caps off, and I'm like, wait a second, these are in the wrong spots. So what I did was I took the crankshaft out, put the caps in the right spots, torqued them down like I'm about to do, measured the bearing clearance, and everything was good. They all had 0.002 of oil clearance. And I'm like, oh, okay, so what the heck? That must have been the deal. So I threw it all back together, torqued it down, and it was fine. So mixing these up can cause you a bit of problems. So make sure you just pay attention. I'll never do that again. I mean, that was the first time I ever done that. Where's my mallet? Where's my mallet? Not broken one. I haven't even used my new one yet, actually. But yeah, so just pay attention like I didn't. And yeah, like I said, I'll never do that again. One, two, yeah, 1, 2. Like I said in the previous video, These bolts are reusable. They're not torque to yield. They're torque to angle bolts. So, but I wouldn't go reusing them on, 10 different builds. I like to max them out at about three torques. I always buy new ones when I do a rebuild because I don't know how many times these have been torqued before the engine got to me. And I'm going to torque them at least twice. So I want to know that they're brand new, not compromised, and that they're going to hold up. And so I always buy new ones. And they're not that expensive, you guys. I mean, this is the part numbers here. I just use Elgin bolts, and they're great. So part numbers right there for new main cap bolts. And they come with the side bolts as well, with fresh sealant and stuff like that on it. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to lock these down and get these all in here and stop talking because I want to play some music and whatever. So, a little time lapse for you, and we'll come back when it's time to do some measuring. And then I'll probably do a time lapse for you then too, because I've already explained how to do it. All right, you guys, main caps are torqued. I'm going to let them heat up and get to about 75 degrees. Let's go over some parts. So, you've already seen the engine tech stuff. These are the rod bearings. And these are also king bearings as well. There's the logo. Yep, it's got the logo on there, just like the other ones. Piston rings. We've already went over the piston rings. These are from Engine Tech as well. Possibly Hastings rings. I think they're Hastings rings because Hastings puts an up on the second ring instead of like a dot or something like that. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. I don't know. Anyways, these are cam bearings. Do these have part numbers? Yes. So these are the main, or the rod, connecting rod bearings. Part number is there. Standard. This is the part number for standard bearings. Okay. It says made in Israel. So, yeah, part number there for the rod bearings. Let me find the box for the main bearings. Where did I put it? Oh, I'll put it in the trash there. This is the part number for the main bearings from Engine Tech. They usually come as a set. I got this all in one kit. Cam bearings, piston rings, main and rod bearings. And here is the part number for the standard piston rings. There you go. Get rid of these now. And these are the cam bearings from Engine Tech. These are, not sure what brand these are, but they interchange with the CH23. This is the second design. CH23 or the CH25s. Because the 25s are a bit wider, but they still fit in the block that I have. But the difference is that I think from 99 to 02 or 03, the 1 and 5 position of the cam bearings were slightly smaller diameter than from 03 to 03 plus, I believe. They were slightly bigger. I'm pretty sure I explained that in the last video or the video before that. I don't know, one of those videos. It explains exactly what. So make sure you know what year your block is made and what size position 1 and 5 of your cam bearings is. But yeah, these are just, and they usually put them in the box in order. and they are numbered as well right here. It explains position 1 is a B339, so position 1, and it's usually, yeah, stamped on there. Oh, you can see that. B339, position 1. And it says position 2, B336, and this one is a B336 right there. Anyways, we'll get more into that when we put them in. We're just going over parts right now. So next, you've seen the piston rings. I'm just going to start grabbing stuff. So this, we'll go over that with the kit here. Always replace your harmonic balancer bolt because these are torque to yield. These things stretch, and they require, I think after about 37 foot-pounds when you're installing the new one, 37 foot-pounds is the first pass, and then 140 degrees after that, which is a pain in the butt to do on an engine stand. But I get this from ICT Billet. These are about 18 bucks. They're made in the USA. So ICT Billet, there's a part number there, and it's just a harmonic balancer bolt. Pretty simple. This is, I always use Melling oil pumps. I don't trust any other cheap brand. Do not cheap out on your oil pumps, please, you guys. Please do not cheap out on the oil pump. Even this is cheap. This was $100. It's an M295. You don't need a 10295 if you're just doing a cam only build. You don't need high oil pressure. You know, all the talking heads on the internet will tell you to up your oil pressure and whatnot. You don't really need to do that. If you're just doing a cam, mild cam, you don't need higher oil pressure. You don't need more volume unless you're like adding something that's gonna use more oil, like a turbo. If you're adding a turbo or like maybe an oil cooler, you take up more volume and you need it to be able to pump quickly through the oil cooler or the turbo is using that oil, then you can get a higher volume oil pump, but you don't really need it if you're not doing that. So this is a Melling M295 right there, and I will explain. This thing is kind of grungy. Maybe I should have opened it before I waited too long. I mean, the rotor looks good. It feels pretty good. Feels pretty smooth, but looks kind of dirty in there. So maybe we'll open it up and inspect. Even this front plate is kind of weird. I don't know if I like that. Anyways, I'm going to open that up before I install it. See what happens. These usually come with two different styles of oil pickup tube O-rings and whatnot. So we are moving on. Oil pump. Don't cheap out on your oil pumps, you guys. If you're doing a simple build, you don't need a high volume or a high pressure oil pump. This I showed you in the last video. I believe this is the oil galley barbell or the oil diverter. This is what changes the direction of the oil and sends it into the oil filter. This, oh, yeah, M295 oil pump. Sorry, I was going to give you a part number, but that is the part number. So this thing here, billet aluminum, 2 O-rings, and yeah, these things are awesome. I explained these in the last video, but is there a part number on here? I got this from Amazon, so just looked for the improved racing oil LS oil diverter or something like that. So moving on, we've got the Michigan Motorsports. This is the rocker arm Trunnion kit. This is the new kit for the rocker arms. You saw me press out all the old bearings. These I will explain when I'm installing these, but these are the new Trunions. These allow for 360 degree rotation of the rocker arm. Not that you would need 360 degrees, but it's not limited like the old ones. And these are the new bearings. Still needle bearing type. You can get the bushing type, but those are more for like high RPM, higher horsepower builds and stuff. And these are more for like everyday cruising and mild cams and stuff like that. So these work just fine. They come with snap rings. This kit comes with new rocker arm bolts as well, and they will take an Allen head instead of an 8mm bolt. But yeah, there's that. Let me see if I can find a part number for you. All right, here. There's a part number for those. They do sell a kit with the rocker arms, and they're already pressed in, the rocker arms, so you could just buy that and throw them in. Instead of going through all the work of pressing out the old bearings, pressing these guys in, and whatnot. If you're just building one engine, then that's fine to do. It's the cost is about the same as this kit and an arbor press. So it'll cost the same to get this kit and an arbor press as it will to get just the rocker arms with the upgraded trunnions already. I believe they're about 180 something. But I do this a lot, and I like to save the customers a little bit of money, so I don't mind pressing my own trunnions into, well, not my own trunnions, but I don't mind pressing the trunnions into the rocker arms. It's just not that big of a deal to save them about 80 bucks. Let's see here. What is this? Oh, this is the cam retainer plate. Also got this from Michigan Motorsports, but it is male brand, and it comes with ARP bolts, which I like a lot. So, where's put that knife? It's right here, right in front of your face, genius. So, ARP bolts. This comes as a kit from Michigan Motorsports on Amazon, or you can get it from their website. But I get the same kit every time. Every single time. Brand new cam retainer plate. Sorry if you guys can't see that. The lighting's kind of weird in here, but the seal is brand new, and that's pretty much essential for any LS refresh or build or whatever you're doing with your LS. Even if you just pull it out of the junkyard and you want to friggin' throw it in your car, replace the cam retainer plate along with every seal and gasket on the thing. That's my advice to you. Unless you want oil leaks in your LS swap. I like to use TR55s in my cam builds. A lot of people use these. I like them. They're cheap. They're effective. And yeah. And they're NGKs. So I like them. This is the Cloy's Precision Timing Components. Quality since 1921. Part number here. This is a complete timing set. This comes with the lower gear as well. How do I open this thing? Oh, hey. So, comes with a timing gear, brand new. It's a little dusty. Like this has been on the shelf for a while. But this, a lot of people don't know this, I think. But this thing right here, I mean, yeah, sure, it could be a balancer, but it's for a crank signal. So if you were to switch your Gen 3 style crank position sensor, which is on the cam signal. So if you were to switch your Gen 3 style cam position sensor, which is on the cam itself, it's a little like tone ring kind of behind, right in front of the rearmost bearing surface. If you were to switch that out for a Gen 4 style, which is on the front cover, and uses the cam sprocket for the signal, that's what this would be for. If you've ever seen a Gen 4 style cam timing sprocket, it'll have little gaps in this, and that's for the 4X style of the Gen 4. This is a 1X, so it gets triggered once per rotation. And yeah, you can use the front cover style cam position sensor with this style. Otherwise, this is the stock. This is the factory style. It just has holes in it. It's a little bit lighter and doesn't have that trigger ring on it like the aftermarket ones do. So keep that in mind. This guy here goes on the crank, and it just slides on and presses on just barely. And yeah, I like to replace those too, but it's not super necessary. So this also comes with I believe this is a Gen 4 style timing chain, which are a lot stronger than the Gen 3 styles. Oop, let me pull this open for you real quick. The links are a lot beefier than the Gen 3 styles. I think I have a Gen 3 style here somewhere. Yes, I do. So, this is a Gen 3 style. If you could see that. next to the Gen 4 style. I think everything was just a little bit stronger in the Gen 4 engines. But this is fine to use in the Gen 3, and it won't interfere with anything. Yeah, but yeah, you can tell the difference between the two. This one's a little bit thicker links and is a bit stronger. So we like to use those Gen 4 style timing chains. Yeah, this is a good kit. I use this often, very, very often. And we'll just throw that back together there. Put this on the bench. Let me close this knife before I slice my stuff. Safety first, you guys. Safety first. I'll have another Gen 4 chain right there. I might actually have I had a Gen 4 timing sprocket, but that's somewhere else. So, knock sensors. I've heard a lot of people have problems with the AC Delco knock sensors that go in the valley, and a lot of them don't work right out the box. I've never had a problem with these cheap Amazon ones, like ever. These are Mooj Racing knock sensors, straight from China, like fresh off the boat. There's not even a part number, but you know, Amazon. I have never had a problem with these cheap knock sensors, and I've never heard my customers having issues with them either. So, comes with a harness, 2 knock sensors, and you know they don't feel like they're cheap Chinese knock sensors. They feel like the real deal. New boots that are soft and not like hard plastic like the OEM ones after a million starts and stops. So, anyways, there's that. We use some cheap parts here, and yeah, the ones that work I use over and over and over because they work. These are Felpro intake gaskets. Part number right here. These are way better, in my opinion, than the stock style ones that clip onto your intake manifold. If you're going to rebuild your engine, don't use those stock style ones because these are just better. And they come with a couple other gaskets. So intake or throttle body gasket actually comes with an EGR valve gasket, which is strange, and then some injector O-rings, some EGR stuff, which we'll just throw away. But these gaskets, man, these things are heavy. They are metal and big old O-ring style, but these actually clip onto the heads. These clip onto the small head bolts right here. I could probably show you real quick. You'll see when I install them too, but these sit on the heads just like this, and they stay there. They don't go down when you put the intake on. They don't move. They don't do nothing. And they seal up really good. So I like this style a lot better than the ones that clip onto the intake manifold itself. Get these if you can. It's only about $44 for this set here. And it comes with a throttle body. It comes with throttle body gaskets for a Gen 3 and a Gen 4 style throttle. The round O-ring and the other one, the 3-bolt. So that's a pretty good deal there. So I like it. I like it a lot. I use those every time. And I've heard that they're pretty reusable as well. But the other ones that clip on your intake, they just leak. And when you go to tighten your intake down, they like move around, and you know they can. I just don't like them. These ones you just set on the heads. I like to spray them a little bit, lube them up with some WD-40. That way, when you put your intake down onto it, they're not going to move. So, Felpro intake gaskets. These are genuine GM LS7 lifters from a company called Overstock Direct. The website is right there, osdauto.com. I get these off Amazon, but you can go to their website as well. This is a set of 16 LS7 lifters, genuine GM LS7 lifters, and genuine GM LS lifter trays for, I believe, $186. And I always go with these just because they're a decent price and they're genuine GM. So in the box, you'll get, you know, a thank you note, packing slip, and a little explanation on how you know they're LS7 lifters. You look for the gold color retaining clip, and also how they buy them. They buy them in like giant boxes like this and then separate them into the 16 for the sets, or you can buy the giant boxes that they get as well. And yeah, that would be kind of cool to stock up on those. But yeah, some GM genuine parts. These are lifter trays, brand new. There's 4 of them in the box here, and then the lifters themselves, they kind of soak them in some sort of lube. But yeah, there they are. And yeah, I get them from them every single time. This is another thing you shouldn't cheap out on, just like the oil pump. Do not get no-name lifters. Even the Delphi lifters, I've heard people having lots of problems with those. So just be aware. I've never had problems with these. And if you want to take my word for it, you can. If you don't, then do your own research, please. Well, it's okay to have your own opinion. It's okay to process your own thoughts and have your own opinions and do your own research before you just blindly follow what people are saying or doing. Please. And that applies to every aspect of your life, not just engine building, not just listening to a content creator who builds engines. You know, do some research and look it up, okay? Don't just take my word for it. I appreciate you if you do, because I'm not trying to steer you wrong, but I am encouraging you to do your own research as well. So this came in the kit, the cam kit. Let me move all this stuff here. I'm going to go over this real quick first. This is a fuse box for making your own standalone harness. This I got from Michigan Motorsports, but it's made by BP Automotive. So this is the standalone fuse box that I'm going to be using when I make the harness for this engine. And this is amazing. So much better than the cheap standalone harness fuse box. Uses the micro fuses and the little micro relays too. That's awesome. Comes with it's really high quality. Like, feels almost like OEM. The wire quality is great. And this has all the circuits and whatnot to turn a stock Gen 3 or maybe Gen 4. I think this is just for Gen 3. It has all the wires and the circuits to turn a stock Gen 3 harness into a standalone harness and not have to use the giant fuse box that comes with the harness. And this is only about, I think this kit was only about like $50 something. It comes with a OBD2 plug with way too many wires. Just noticed that. Maybe, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But OBD2, it even comes with a roll of electrical tape, which seems to have gotten warm and whatnot. And it comes with a mounting bracket for the fuse box. And this fuse box just slides onto that, so you can quick disconnect. And also comes with instructions and probably wiring diagram and whatnot. I haven't even looked at this yet. But yeah, how to do what you need to do and what you need to do it with. So that is rad. I'm excited to use that. And yeah, go check that out. Let me see if I can get you a part number real quick, so you can look them up. I got this off Amazon from Michigan Motorsports, but it is made by BP Automotive. So here's the tag there. Base LSX DIY harness mod kit. That's literally all that's on the box. So anyways, there's that. So, okay. Let's go over what came in this cam kit. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to source the cam and the lifters, or in the valve springs, and the push rods and stuff. And sometimes it's more expensive than just buying a kit. So I also get these kits from Michigan Motorsports, which are mostly rebranders of parts, just like Engine Tech is, and whatnot. But for the sloppy cams, I always go with Elgin because they're made in America. They're not Chinese copies. These are the sloppy cams. Sloppy Stage 1, Sloppy Stage 2, Sloppy Stage 3. This one is a Sloppy Stage 3, which is also known as the E1841P by Elgin. And let's open it up. There she is. I don't like to touch them too much without gloves on. Yeah, anyways, there's the cam. Man, those lobes are hefty. I like that. I like it a lot. Okay, anyways, so I get these in a kit. This kit, I believe, was like $630 something. Came with the cam. It came with push rods, new push rods, 7.4 length with 0.080 thickness, and there's 16 of them, I believe. So brand new push rods. These are going to be a little bit stronger than the stock ones because this cam has almost 600 lift. I believe it's 595, maybe. It's on here somewhere. 595 on the intake and exhaust. Anyways, this kit came with the cam, the push rods, the valve stem seals. These are Michigan Motorsports brand. H7100 is the part number. Hopefully you can see that. Part number for the push rods is right here. And it came with Pack Racing 1218 springs, which are 600 lift. Yeah, 600 lift valve springs. And comes with 16 of them. I use these springs for mostly everything. Sloppy Stage 2 cams as well. But they're a little more appropriate for this build, but they come with stickers for your ride. Pack Racing. And yeah, that's the cam kit. There's the part number, 1218-16. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Besides the oil. The oil, I usually use Valvoline VR1 racing oil just because it has a higher ZDDP content, and that helps to seat the new piston rings and whatnot. So now that was a 45-minute video. Oh, it was only about 30 minutes. So this engine should be heated pretty good. Oh, those caps are sweating. Yeah, let's measure some bearings. I'm going to just go through and measure them because I've already explained how to do it. I'll probably share a measurement with you and then just bang them out and listen to some music. So, because I like music while I'm working, and we're going to go through it. And then after that, let's slam some cam bearings. So let's do that. All right, guys, I'm going to blast through measuring these bearings, and then we'll come back when it's time to put in some cam bearings. The block is nice and heated. It's not hot or anything. It's at about 74 degrees, 73, which is ideal. I mean, 70 is pretty good too. Yep. About 74 across the board. So we're going to measure. Enjoy the music. Okay, so bearing clearance has been measured. They are all at 2 thousandths, give or take 100 thousandths or a tenth or whatever it's called, but they're all good. So we're good to go. We're gonna move on. I'm gonna remove these caps. That way I can get to the cam bearings better, and then we're gonna put some cam bearings in there. So let's do it. All right, guys. Excuse me. Got a little tickle in my throat. The installation of the cam bearings is exactly reverse of the disassembly of the cam bearings or the removing of the cam bearings. It's fairly simple, you guys. Just make sure your tool is straight. That is what this cone is for. It lines it up in the bore, and I like to start at the back and work my way to the front. Also, I like to throw a little assembly lube on this thing. That way it doesn't score up or damage the cam bearings if it was gonna. But, you know, it's pretty simple. I just use Lucas Oil assembly lube. It's pretty cheap. Get it out of O'Reilly's for like $7 for that whole thing. And I'll throw it in my little oil can here and just make things simpler. Just a little bit. Pretty much all you need. On that guy, throw some gloves on. Just because I'm out of paper towels, I gotta run to the store and grab some shop towels. So I'll do that here in a little bit when I deliver all your guys' packages. I put up the lifter and push rod trays on my website, and they sold out within a day. So I put some more up, right? So I can make some more, and then they sold out within the day. So I put some more up, right? So that I can make you guys some more, so you guys can buy some more. And they sold out within a day. So those things are pretty cool. Glad you guys are liking them. Yeah. They take a while to print, so just be patient. If you ordered one and haven't received a shipping confirmation yet, then they're coming. Man, I need to get some more paper towels. Okay, so let's start at the back. One thing right quick. Let me explain to you. See these oil holes? Well, these are oil holes. And the block has oil passages as well. And there's 2 oil holes on these, but there's only 1 passage underneath these on the block itself. So you really only need to line up one of them. But what I like to do is, see how they're kind of offset? They're not in the center. You know, if they were centered, one of them would be here instead of here. What I like to do is put them on top. Just line them up on the top, and they'll always line up with the oil gallery behind it. So, and I'll show you that after I do one. I'm going to do the first one and then show you how the oil gallery lines up, and then I'm just going to slam out the rest of them, or slam in the rest of them, if you will. So pretty simple process, just like removing them. Just make sure you line them up and you'll be okay. Just like that. Get them in there. And then I use my new mallet for this because it's a bit heavier than the other one. It's so bright. But yeah, make sure you get a dead blow for this so your hammer's not bouncing all over the place and whatnot. So, okay. And then what we're going to do is just lightly tap it for the first couple. Ooh, what's going on here? Make sure it goes in. Okay, this one's not wanting to do anything here. Hold on. Yeah, this one. Okay, something's up. So I'm going to pull this out and see what's going on. First and foremost, I'm going to measure that journal there. Give me a second. Okay, well, we're stuck. Yeah. I ordered, well, when I bought this engine, it was supposed to be a 2004 block because it came out of a 2004. But since the head bolts, if you remember when I was tearing it apart, the head bolts were 2 different lengths, and they changed that in 2003. Yeah, so this is a 2003 block, which means the 1 in 5 position of the cam bearings are smaller than the 2004 on. And so I ordered the second design cam bearings, so they're just a bit too big for the first and fifth position, and that's why that one wasn't going in. So I'm going to order the right cam bearings and see if I can get some here tomorrow or the next day, and then we will continue. So, because can't really do much else before you get those cam bearings in, because with the crank in the way, it's just kind of hard to get them into the block so that you can put them on your tool and stuff like that. So I like to do those before I even put the crankshaft in. I mean, we could put the oil gallery barbell in, we can put all the plugs back in the block, but without the cam bearings in there, we can't really do much else. So I'm just going to order some more, and then we'll wait for them to get here. So, yep, I'm going to do that. And for you, it'll just be like a snap. And then for me, it's going to be probably a couple days. All right. So I got the new cam bearings on order. They'll be here on Saturday, which is the rest of the week. It sucks. That sucks. I was hoping to finish this thing this week, but yeah. Anyways, let's get these heads back together while we wait. Yeah, that's really one of the only things we can do. Now, I like to lap my valves, but if they were sealing fine before, you don't need to do that. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. These exhaust valves, the exhaust valves are usually a bit pitted, and that's just how they all are. Yeah, every LS or truck engine I've come across, the exhaust valves are pitted. It's not from rust. It's just from, I don't know what it's from. Anyways, so I like to lap all the valves and just make sure they're sealing properly. And the way I do it is probably going to piss some people off, but I've shown it before and it didn't get too much hate. So let's show it again. You know, you can use your standard, valve lapping tool, the suction cup, where you stick it on your valve there. You stick your valve in the thing and you twist and twist and twist and lift up and all that, and do all that manual labor, which is fine. That's how I used to do it. That's why I have these, and I've got a few of them. I've got little ones for motorcycle engines and whatnot, tiny little valves, and that's how I used to do it. But I don't do it like that anymore because I just don't have the time. I found something else that works just as good, and it's 20 times quicker. So let me show you how I do it. And don't freak out. You don't have to do it like this if you don't want it. If you don't trust it, that's fine. Nobody's judging you, except for everyone on Facebook. But nobody really cares. So, I'm just kidding. I care. As long as you do it however you're comfortable doing it, then you're good to go. I'm not going to make fun of you for it. But this, what am I doing here? I like to just lube the stems a little bit. Hold on. I'm getting mixed up here. So, valve grinding compound. This is cheap. You can get it at Harbor Freight or Cost Less or O'Reilly's or, wherever. And, yeah. It's pretty simple, really. It's like a liquid sandpaper, kind of. And pretty much what you do is just take your valve, get a couple of dabs of this stuff. You don't need a whole lot. I like to do about 4 dabs, just like that. Just around the edge there. This one's going in here. And then I'll throw some assembly lube just on the tip of this here. Yeah. I like using assembly lube, you guys, because it doesn't move around a whole lot after you install your parts. People will tell you that you don't need assembly lube, and I mean, you don't, but it is the safer option if you're going to be building an engine, because if you just use regular motor oil and something happens to where you can't finish your engine right away and get it fired up right away, and that engine ends up sitting, then all that oil is going to drain away from where you put it. And then when you go to fire it up, when you're finished building it, you're going to have a little bit of a dry start situation. The assembly lube is a lot thicker, and let me show you real quick. It's very, very thick. Where am I? Here I am. And it stays, for the most part, it stays where you put it. It's very thick. and it'll stay there. And it prevents dry starts and stuff like that. If your engine's going to be sitting for a little bit, maybe you're waiting on parts or something, ordered the wrong part, and you have to take a few days to just wait for parts, then it's just good to have. Like I said, you can use just regular motor oil, but I don't recommend it. So yeah, just, use your better judgment, do your own research, and you don't have to take my word for it. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to go through and I like to do all of these at once. I put the grinding compound on all the valves and then throw all the valves in the cylinder head. That way I can just bang them out real quick. Like real quick. And it only takes about 5 minutes to do a whole head. Maybe less than that. And I made sure to keep track of where these valves came out of. That way I'm putting them back in the same spot that they came out of. That way I don't have to do too much lapping. They're going right back in the same spot they came out of, so they're already somewhat shaped to that valve seat, if you could call it that. I mean, shaped, I guess, would be, it's the only word I can think of right now. So yeah, so they are mated to that valve seat already. So the lapping process it doesn't take that long. A couple of seconds, maybe like 30 seconds on each valve, changing directions, and yeah. And then you check it and clean all the compound off. And if a couple of valves need a little bit more, then you can just go back and do those ones. But usually they're all pretty good because they don't really need to be lapped in the first place. But I like seeing that new surface on there. So I'm going to finish doing this, and then I'll show you my method. I know a lot of people that do it like I do as well. I use a drill. I'm just going to tell you straight up. I use a drill, and it works. As long as you don't just squeeze the trigger like it's a machine gun. Like it's not. You're not trying to kill the valves, you guys. We're trying to lap them. They don't need to die. It's not a machine gun. You be gentle with your trigger finger. All right, my camera ran out of storage on me, so I already did one of them, and yeah, I got all the valves in there. And let me just show you. Just use your drill. It does. You don't. A lot of people that I see that do it this way, they'll put a piece of fuel line or something on the end of the valve tip. That way they don't scratch up their valve tip and stuff like that. I don't do that. I trust myself to not just crank down on it, and you don't really need to hold it that tight with the drill chuck anyway. So yeah, I'm just going to go through. We'll tighten this on there just a little bit. Just like that. You don't need a whole lot on there. And then we're going to go slow with the drill. Remember, we're not trying to kill the valves, you guys. We're just trying to lap them, give them a new surface to seal and whatnot. And we're just going to go in and out just a little bit, just like that. Then we're going to switch directions and then do the same thing, in and out. So. And then we're going to switch directions. And then I don't usually do it like this. I usually go through all of them, and then I'll check at the end. But I'm going to pull this one out and show you guys. And yeah, we'll clean this guy off here. Yeah, still got the compound on there, so just wipe it off, or you can use brake cleaner or something like that. So now, see that the gray surface right there? That is the sealing surface now. It'll look like that on the valve seat as well. And hold on. It looks pretty even all the way around, so I like that. And we're going to send it. So yeah. So yeah, just do the same with all the other ones. Or you can use the little suction cup thing. Or if you're pretty confident that they don't need to be lapped, then then just skip this step. But it's not hard, and it works pretty good. So I like doing it. And yeah, just to make sure that all that compression stays in the cylinder and the engine runs good. Just to make sure. It probably would run good without doing this, but I don't trust them that much. So I like to know that it's going to seal and whatnot. So I'm going to bang these out real quick, and then yeah, we'll do the other one. And then, well, let's we can press some rocker arm trunnions today as well, and I'll show you about how to do those. Those are pretty simple as well, as long as you have the arbor press. But if you bought just the rocker arms, then you're fine. Get some valve stem seals on there, and we can actually finish up this head. Might as well, right? I like to lube it up just a little bit. Just a little bit. Each valve tip. Just to make sure it slides on there good. And then we can throw some springs on there, and then move on to the other head. Yeah, those slide right on there. And then what I like to do, you can just push these down, and it's not that hard to push them down all the way. But I like to take a socket, 21 mil works, and then I have like this little mallet that works pretty good, and you just bop them on there. But I like to go through and throw them all on first. Just more about efficiency. This way, I believe, is quicker than putting one on, pushing it down, bopping it, putting the next on. And you could just get all these on there carefully. I mean, some people put like little straw ends on there, but I don't really see why. They don't really cut these up anyway. So anyways. And there we go. Now, that's for the other head. Now I can use my foam piece. I've used this thing a few times, you can tell. This is about the rough shape of the combustion chamber on these heads. And I'll throw these under there, underneath the valves. That way when I'm using my spring compressor tool, the valve doesn't move, and it has a soft surface to touch onto instead of the workbench or whatever. But I'll just throw this underneath like that. And then we'll get a little clampage going on the head there. I'll just clamp it right in the middle. That's plenty. Okay, so now I'll grab my spring compressor tool. Remember this guy? Might actually be able to put one of these on my website pretty soon. Do sort of like a drop shipping thing. I just need to find one that has quick shipping for you guys, because nobody wants to wait super long for shipping. Anyways, let me get this tray here. this tray here. There we go. I might need some springs too. Racing springs. There we go. Boop. Yeah. Okay. Let me get all set up here. One thing I like to do is I like to lube the underneath of the springs. I don't know. Can you guys even see what I'm doing? There we go. That's better. So I'll throw some lube just right on the bottom of the top hat style valve stem seals. That way when you throw the springs in there, you just twist them around, it spreads out, and they're nice and lubed. I don't know if you need to do this, but you know, lube can't really hurt. So they're gonna get oil eventually on them when you fire up the engine and it runs for a little bit, but just like anything else, it's better to have lube already in place when you fire the engine up. Anywhere. Just lube it up. Okay, so like this, and then you just twist it around, spread that lube out a bit, and now the whole bottom of the spring is lubed. And I do the same with the top, underneath the retainer as well. Throw a lube on there, throw a retainer on there, spread it around. Now that's lubed and I don't have to worry about it. So let's get the tool here. What I like to do when installing with this tool, you have to kind of hold this kind of right there. And that way when you push down, it's centered. Also, I like to put the keepers in first before I push down all the way. Seems to help a bit. And then when you push down, they just fall into place. Like this. I don't know if you can see that, but boop. Doo-doo-doot, doot. Boom. Done. Simple. This tool is amazing, and you need one in your toolbox. Because are you going to do it that fast with the dual type? No. No, you're not. Sorry, but no, you're not. Now, let's see how quickly it really goes. I'm just going to bust the rest of these out, you guys. It's fairly simple. You guys are smart people, and I have faith that you can figure it out yourselves without watching me do it 32 times. Grab this keeper. No, that's not what's going to happen here. That's what's going to happen. There we go. Okay, this head is done, and yeah, it's ready to go on the engine. We're just gonna get the rocker arms done. I gotta finish doing the other head and lap those valves and whatnot, so I'm gonna do that. We'll come back when it's time to press some trunnion bearings, and yeah. All right, you guys, the heads are done. They're put back together. Yeah, let's press some rocker arm trunnions while we have them here, and while we have them empty and nothing else to do. So, yeah, let me grab my arbor press, move some stuff out of the way real quick, get you in close here so I can show and explain what I'm doing. So, Okay, so my mic died again. I already pressed one and I was talking the whole time and you guys couldn't even hear me. So anyways, I was just explaining how these work really. This is the Trunnion, the new one. And this Trunnion is actually the inner race for the new bearings, unlike the older style, which is these. Kind of a weird shape, right, for a bearing. But they have their own inner race that comes out along with the rest of the bearing. And then this goes on here. But these are limited in their movement. I don't think the rocker arm will ever move that much, but you know. What happens though is when your rocker arms get used a bunch and they have a lot of miles on them and stuff like that, the bearing is just pressed into the rocker arm. So it's just being squeezed by the rocker arm itself. And if that interference fit kind of gets a little bit loose and you're building like a higher RPM or higher lift engine, this bearing race, the outer one, can just walk out slowly and it'll fall out, and then those needle bearings will go everywhere inside your engine. So what these are for is just to stop that from happening. So these are the new bearings here, and they literally just fit right over the new trunnion like that. And then there's a snap ring that you put in this groove, and the snap ring holds this and stops it. So even if it does try and walk out of there a little bit, which is still not a good thing, that means you should replace your rocker arms, but it's not going to come out, and the needles aren't going to come out because they're kind of held in place by the cap as well, or the outer race as well. And yeah, it just stops that from happening so that you can replace these if it ever does. I mean, I'm sure it'll make a whole lot of noise when this tries to destroy itself. So anyways, let me show you how to press one of these in here real quick, and we'll get to it. And I'm just going to bang the rest of them out like everything else I've done on this engine, because this video is already almost an hour long. So what I do first, I will put the bearing, one of the bearings inside. Make sure your flat spots are facing down when you go to press those. Then I'll put the trunnion inside there. It doesn't really matter which way this goes because it has 360 degrees of movement, of rotation. And then the upper bearing, you just push on to the top part there and get rid of this plastic. And then this kit comes with spacers that are just washers, of course, but they're the right thickness so that you don't press it too far and whatnot. So throw one of those on top if you're using an arbor press. Yeah, make sure this is centered. I'm just going to squeeze those in there, and then I'll show you what to do next. They just press in. Press it down all the way till it won't go no more. And then what I do is I will put this spacer on the bottom there, because that, if you notice, this doesn't turn at all now. It's very seized in there. It's because the bottom bearing didn't really go in as far as it can. And so I put that spacer on the bottom and just press directly on the trunnion, and we push that bearing, the bottom bearing, in as far as it should be, and it's just like a 1/16 of an inch. And now this rotates freely, and we can put the clips on there now. But I like to do the clips last step and just press all the bearings all at once and power through it. So I'm going to do that, and you guys can watch. Okay, Rocker arm trunnions are in place. Hold on, let me grab one for you. So this is what they look like. Now, you've seen the old ones. These ones can move 360 degrees and they're not loose or anything like that. So I use these every time. We can't really do much else until the new cam bearings get here. So we'll come back when we can finish on Saturday. So, all right, cam bearings are here. It is Saturday. So I had to wait a whole week almost for these new cam bearings, or the right cam bearings. So before we get started, I want to show you the difference in size of the outer diameter of the 1 and 5 position one. So we'll do that real quick. So the ones I tried to use, let's see, these are about these should be 2.35. Oh, you can see that. Hold on. 2.3535. 2.35, yeah. The outer diameter of the second design cam bearings. The first design, which they switched in 2004 is when they went with the bigger ones. So, and you can already see the little gap in there. And these are, where's the light? Where's the light? 2.335. So significantly smaller in the world of tight tolerances. So that is the difference. I believe they only changed the 1 and 5 positions. So the first and last cam bearing are different in 2003 than they are in 2004. And I did confirm with the engine stamp that this is a 2003 block, which is also strange because these are Gen 4 rods. And I thought before this engine that they switched to Gen 4 style rods in 04 plus. In 05, they went to a full floating Gen 4 rod, which means the piston, the wrist pin, can be removed without a press or heat or anything like that. You just take the clips out, slides right out. These ones are pressed in to the rods. So anyways, let's continue on and slam these cam bearings in place so that we can get the crankshaft installed, so that we can get the pistons installed, so that we can get the heads installed and the lifters. Anyways, let's do it. All right, guys, we're going to do a little close-up here. I'm just going to do one of them and then just slam through the rest of them here. So what you'll need is the cam bearing tool. I got mine on Amazon. This is about $60. Whoa, stay out of there. I use a dead blow. You can get these from Harbor Freight for like, what, 15 bucks. This is a 3-pounder. Yeah, 3-pound. You can use a 2.5-pound if you want. And the cam bearings you will need for an 03 and before block. These are Durabond CH10s. And I use these on every build. They have a CHP 10, which is a kind of a racing style. They're coated in, I'm not sure what they're coated in, but they're coated in the same thing that the race bearings are coated in and stuff. So, you know, you could use those as well. The ones that you'll need for an 04 plus block with the bigger 1 and 5 cam bearing journals is they are CH25s or CHP 25s. The first iteration of the bigger style, they made a cam bearing and it was a CH23, but they don't make those anymore because the CH25s are a bit wider. So these are kind of narrow, right? They made them a bit wider, so they're about, I want to say about that wide, but they fit in these blocks as well and provide a little bit more bearing surface for your camshaft. So the CH25s will be the bigger ones. The CH10s are the smaller ones. So just a little tidbit of info for you there. Let's put one of these in there. And they're in the box in the order that you need to slam them in. And yeah, there's a number stamped on each one. It says CH10-1. And that number corresponds to which journal they go into. So 1, there'll be 2 of these in the box, 2 of them that say 1. Those ones go in the 1 and 5 positions. The 2 and 4 positions will just both say CH10-2, and the 3 one will say, or the middle one will say CH10-3. So keep an eye on that. Also, as I explained when I tried to do this before, there's 2 oil holes, but only 1 oil gallery that needs to line up. So as long as you line up one of these with the oil passage beneath it, then you'll be okay. But I like to center these 2 holes in the block here, and that way one of them always lines up, and yeah, they'll be perfectly fine like that. So let's get this guy in here and then keep it moving. So move this hammer. So what you do, you start at the back usually. That way you can use the cone on this tool to center it up so it doesn't get put in there crooked. So this guy, I like to put a little bit of assembly lube on the tool. That way it doesn't scratch this thing up and whatnot. So we've got a little assembly lube in there. You fit this in there. I had somebody comment on the video, the short video that I posted saying why we're not done with this yet, and I was talking about the cam bearings. Somebody commented saying, why can't you just install the crankshaft and the pistons while you wait? This is why, because if there was a crankshaft and pistons in here, I wouldn't be able to put these on the tool to get them in place, because there's a crankshaft and pistons in the way. So this needs to be open so you can get in here and get these cam bearings installed. So I'm going to line this guy up here, line the 2 holes up. You probably can't really see that, but just make sure they're aligned and you'll be fine. So I also lube the journal just a little bit, just so it slides in a little bit easier. It is a very interference fit. So we're just going to slowly tap this in place. And as you can see, let me see if I can get you a better view of that specific one there. And it's already gone in there just from those couple of taps. So once you get it to where it's right about there, pull this tool out just a little bit, just so you can see where it's at in the bore. So if you can see that, you can see it's not quite in there all the way. So we need to go a little bit further. I like to get them right centered. And usually you could see where they were. There'll be a line and stuff like that. And I like to just put them right back where they were. And we'll just continue on. We'll hit it a couple times and then just keep checking it and make sure it's good. Like right about there, and then we'll pull it out and check. And that's good there. So that's perfect. So, and then we'll just move on to the next one and then keep doing that and make sure your tool is centered, and you should be fine. And then I'll show you how to check if they're crooked or not. We're going to continue on. And yeah, actually, hold on. So now what you would do, let me grab you up here and see if I can show you what I do next after I install each one, just to make sure that oil hole is lined up. It's going to be kind of hard to see. Let's see if I can get it here. So this guy, I like to take a little pick here, and just make sure it goes into the hole there, which it does. So we're lined up with that oil hole. Let me show you the other side. This one here has nothing behind it but metal. The pick doesn't go in there. So we're lined up good, and we can continue. So let's move on. We'll go next, and then next, and then next, until they're all in there. It's pretty simple, you guys. So I'm going to slam these in. installed. Looking good, nice and straight. So see the holes there. Hold on. That one, they're all pretty much lined up. But what I like to do first is just go through and check with a pick here. So you can see, so the oil gallery is on the, I believe this is the driver's side. The block's upside down, but yes, this pick goes all the way in. Well, not all the way in, but it goes into an oil gallery. The other side, not so much. There's nothing behind there, so it doesn't go in further than that. So anyways, just go through and check them all, and you can kind of see down the line here. Sorry if I'm shaking you guys, but you can kind of see all the holes, and they're pretty much lined up. And that oil gallery is pretty wide. I believe it goes from right about here to down here, and so it covers a pretty wide range. So you don't need to get it exactly right in the middle, but it's there, and they're all in there. So we're going to throw this camshaft in there, and the way I do it is controversial, I guess. I throw it in there with no lube first, and then spin it around just a little bit, just to make sure none of those are crooked, because if they were crooked, there would be tight spots. I just want to make sure it spins smooth, and then what I'll do is just back it out a little bit, and then throw some lube on the bearing journals, and then we'll just leave it in there for the time being. And then once we get the crankshaft in, pistons in, then we can flip it over, put the cam retainer plate on, and do the timing set and all that, and get the front end buttoned up. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so also one thing I kind of forgot about, but we're gonna do it right now. One thing you want to do before you throw your cam in there and test it, the cam kind of comes with a little bit of lube on it from so it doesn't rust during shipping. And what I do is just go through and just wipe all that off. Just use some parts cleaner and a towel, shop rag or whatever. And yeah, I'll just go through. Oh, you can see that, but there's just a little bit of like shipping lube, I call it. We'll just wipe that off of there. All the lobes, get it off all the lobes and all the bearing surfaces as well. Okay, so also like to install the cam now while I have room to reach in there. Just makes it a little bit easier to guide it in, because then you can just reach in and just guide it into place, and you don't have to worry about banging it all over the place. Or you could just be careful, but you know, you can just reach in behind every bearing and guide the whole back of it in there. Nice and easy. Like a Sunday morning. It's Saturday morning, but same thing. So, and then now she's in there. Let me get you a closer look in here. So it's in there, and then what I do is just rotate it a little bit, and I'm just feeling for tight spots. And the tight spots indicate that the bearings may be in there crooked, but it's pretty smooth throughout the whole 360 degrees of rotation. So now what I do is just kind of move it out a little bit, set it down, and I'll go through and just dribble a little bit of lube on each bearing surface. I mean, you can dribble it on the lobes too, but by the time we get the lifters and stuff in there, it'll probably all be ran off. Just like that. And then on the outer one as well. And that's it. Now, spread it around the front of the outer one. Even the front of it. because that rides on the cam bearing surface or the cam retainer plate surface, in the back a little bit as well. Now we can just slide it into place and rotate it. It's the assembly lube makes it a little bit harder to rotate, and that's why I do it dry first. Because this right here, if I were to put this in there and I didn't know that assembly lube is, thick enough to almost stop it from rotating by hand, I'd be like, whoa, what the heck's going on? That's way too tight. But doing it dry first, there's no interference from the assembly lube, and that way you can tell that it is rotating how it's supposed to be and whatnot. So everything's straight here. Everything's good. This is kind of wanting to slide out. So we might actually just or we might actually just put the retainer plate on now. Oh, you can see that, but it's slowly sliding out. Yeah, it's going to fall out. Oh, it stopped right there. Let's just go ahead and put the retainer plate on now. That way it doesn't do that, because my stand seems to be, well, I guess my whole garage isn't level at all anyway, so it kind of slopes down with the driveway. But, it's kind of a weird setup, but, I'm working with what I got, you guys. Don't judge me. Anyways. All right, you guys. Oh, hey, welcome. Get in here. Hope you can see this. So, like I showed you before, we're using a male. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but male. I pronounce it male because I'm American and don't know how to pronounce things with other countries' accents. But, yeah, this is one I always use. Always replace this because this seals the oil galleries for your lifters. And if this leaks, then you have no oil pressure. And that's not good for an engine that spins at 6,000 RPM. Yeah. This kit came with ARP bolts. See, ARP. And we're going to use Ultra Torque Lube. And I believe these are 25 foot-pounds. These bolts come with torque spec as well. So, yeah, 25 foot-pounds right there. ARP Ultra Torque Lube. It didn't come with these bolts, but it comes with the head bolts and stuff. And you can buy it separately. So, yeah, let's get into it. It's a pretty simple process. This just goes on there like that. And then what I'm going to do is we get some lube, some lubricant. I'll be a little liquidy because it's been sitting. I'll just go quickly down the threads here. You don't need a whole lot. And then just a little dab underneath the head of the bolt. Yeah. Pretty simple. You can spread it with your fingers on the threads if you want, but usually just tightening it in there just kind of spreads it out evenly. And yeah. And then you just go one by one, doing the same thing for all of them. A little bit of leads and under the head. You don't really need to spread it out because it does that by itself with the rotation. And this is one of those things that, like, that lube, it kind of gets everywhere if you touch it. It's like what's it called? Anti-seize. Once it's on your fingers, it's on everything else too. Doing. All right. I'm excited that those cam bearings came in today. It is Saturday, and I usually don't work on Saturdays, but we're behind on this thing, so I got to get as much of this done as possible. And yeah, been working all week, ready for the Super Bowl. I'm not a Seahawks fan, and some of you may hate me for saying this, but I'm a Patriots fan. I've been a Patriots fan for a long time, and I miss watching the Patriots when it was Tom Brady, Gronkowski, Edelman, Amendola, Blunt, and those guys, the dream team. That was fun football to watch back then. And then Brady left, and they went downhill. They haven't seen a Super Bowl for 6 years. So I'm excited for the game, which is tomorrow. So, all right, those are in place. Now let's get 25 Torx on here, and then we'll just go crisscross like that, top and bottom, left and right. Oh, I forgot to lock my engine stand here. There we go. Okay, and then we'll just double check all of them, make sure they're good. And that's it. That is the cam installed and the cam bearings installed. So now we can throw this crankshaft in here, get those torqued down, and then we can throw the pistons and rods in and whatnot. I think I'm going to wait till Monday for that, just because I want to go relax. I've already been doing stuff all day today. My aunt needed a new battery in her Tahoe, and she left it in the Safeway parking lot where she works, and the window was all the way down, and it started raining. So I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off, but we got it taken care of. And yeah, I'm gonna go relax. We'll come back on Monday and finish this engine up. Hopefully we'll have it running by Tuesday. So yeah, we'll be back. All right, you guys, it's Monday. I hope you guys had a good weekend. The cam is installed. Cam bearings are installed. Only thing left to do now, well, not the only thing, but the next step is to get this crankshaft in here. So let's get on that. I got to refill my assembly lube thing here. It's so sticky. Okay, so now we'll just drizzle a little bit of lube all over. Put a bunch on the lobes too. Just get it everywhere. You don't need a whole lot on the bearings, but it doesn't hurt. So now we grab some gloves here. Hold on. Oh yeah, that looks good. Looks nice and lubey. Okay, let's get this crankshaft in here. Oh, that's heavy. Now this goes down in place here, like that. Try not to turn this too much without the caps torqued down, because those bearings can move around a little bit, and you know, all that good stuff. So let's get these caps in here. Make sure you got the right one going in the right spot. So this is number 1. Make sure the bearing's lined up. We're gonna set that in place. We've got number 2. Make sure your tabs, I don't know what these are called. They're called, I mean, I just call them tabs. I don't know if you can see these. Let's see how it's flat on this edge. It's flat on this edge, but there's a little like bump out on this side. That bump out needs to face the rear of the engine. So make sure these bearings are in good position. And then pushed all the way in there. Actually, you know what? Get a little bit of lube on top of the bearing journals here. Get this guy out of here real quick. There we go. He's a little lubey. Get this one out. And there we go. Now, number 3, go in. Number 4, the little bump out on number 5 needs to face the front of the engine. Oh, come on, get in there. So the bump outs on number 1 and 5 are a lot bigger than 2, 3, and 4. But this on number 5 needs to face forward, so the front of the engine. That's the only one that faces a different direction. So, well, I just tap these down into place. Spin this one over. Okay. Power tools. Okay, now these need to be 15 foot-pounds is the first pass, and then the second pass, I'm pretty sure I already explained this, 80 degrees for the inner bolts, and then 51 degrees for the outer bolts. And then the side bolts are just 18 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go through and torque all these to 15. Make sure they're at 15. If you put them to 15 with your power tools, like your impact or whatever, it might be more than 15. And that'll change the angle at which you torque it. So what I like to do is if it's already at 15 by the time I'm putting this torque wrench on it, I'll just loosen it and get it to 15 with the torque wrench. That way you know it's at 15 and not anymore. Yeah, thankfully none of those were. So these ones might. Nope, those are good. Okay, now those are all at 15. And we're going to go through and do our angle passes. And I'll get you a little close up of that as well. It's pretty simple. The tool is pretty cheap. There's that. There's that. Okay, we're going to go through and do the inner bolts first. I like to use a breaker bar just because it makes it a little bit easier. Little bit easier. So, let's throw this guy on here. I like to just start it at an angle that's fairly decent. Like the wrench itself, you know. And then it's got this little, this is a very cheap tool. I got this at Costless Auto Parts for like 10 bucks. And it's not the best thing in the world, but, you know, it does its job. So you basically put this little stopper here somewhere where it's not going to move, and so that the gauge can stay where it needs to stay. The thing that turns is the upper part with the line on it. I don't know if you can see that. So this part moves with the wrench, and the rest of it stays in place. So I like to just zero it out, and then make sure this isn't going to move, this little stopper here. And then we're going to go to 80 degrees. So that's all the way over here, right before a 90, obviously. So you just turn it till you hit 80, and that's it. And then you move on to the next. To the next. There we go. There's 80 right there. You probably didn't see the angle or nothing, but, you know, it made it. Yeah, the wrench is completely in the way for you, but it's okay. We're going to do these two. That's 80. This guy, can you see that now? There you go. Now, there's 80 there. And we'll just go through and do all of them like that. The inner bolts, again, are 80. The outer bolts are these ones with the studs on them. Those are 51 degrees after you torque them all to 15. So yeah, I'm just going to go through and finish these real quick, and we'll come back. Okay. Now, so I forgot to explain that as you're torquing them down, I mean, you don't really have to do this. You'll notice if something's wrong. The assembly lube is thick, and it makes it harder to spin over than it actually is. So it's going to feel a little stiff. But if it's too stiff, then you need to stop and look at what's going on. Maybe take the cap off and measure your bearing clearance again, because if it gets hard to where you can't even spin it over with your hand, even with assembly lube, you should be able to spin it over fairly easily with your hands, and one hand will do. But if it gets stiff after torquing, say this one, then something's wrong with this bearing. Something's wrong right here. If it works, just fine up until this part, then something's wrong right here. So just make sure you can spin it after every one that you torque and whatnot. This one is fine. So yeah, bearing clearances are good, and we can move on. And the next step would be to get the piston rings on the pistons and get the pistons in the block. So let's do that. Okay, guys, let's get some pistons put together. I don't know why I haven't done this yet, but it happens. Also, almost forgot why I have the mallet here. I forgot to do this, so I just did it real quick. But don't forget to set your thrust bearings on your crankshaft. Basically, before you torque down the number 3 main cap, tighten the bolts. I mean, I torque them to 15 foot-pounds before I do the final pass. I know I didn't show it in the video, but I went back and redid it. But smack the back of this thing, or smack the front of the crankshaft. You don't have to hit it too hard with the dead blow mallet, and then smack the back of it with the dead blow mallet as well. What that does is just kind of, it moves it forward and backwards, and what that does is align the two. It aligns the two halves of the thrust bearing, the number 3 main bearing, and so they're aligned on the sides, because the sides are a bearing surface as well. And after that, what I like to do, since I don't have a magnetic base for my dial indicator, I'll just go through and hit it with I'll hit it with the feeler gauges in between the thrust bearing and the crankshaft, and measure your clearance, your end play. I think it should be anywhere between 0.00175 and 0.007, so 7 thousandths is the maximum. I was right about 3 thousandths of clearance on the end play. So make sure you measure that. I mean, I guess I could just show you real quick. So let's measure. I'm not sure of the exact spec right now, but I'll put it up in the video when I edit this video. So basically, what you do before you tighten these all the way down, before you torque them all the way down, what you want to do is just smack the end with a mallet, and then smack it the other way. That just aligns the two halves. And then what I do is I will preload it to the front and the rear, and just measure in here. You can use a dial indicator with a magnetic base. You just stick it on the front here and just have it on one side. It doesn't really matter which side. And then you just force it to either the front or the rear, or both actually, and then just measure out how much it moves with your dial indicator. But this works just fine as well. So let me just grab, I already know what size it is, so I'm just going to grab that. I think we're at, what, 3.6 thousandths. I know we're not 7 thousandths because the 5 wouldn't fit in there. So what I'm going to do is force it to the front and just start feeling. You can also just wedge this in here lightly. That way it just forces it to the front. And yeah. So this is 3.6 thousandths. That one fits in there. And then you just go in between the crankshaft and the bearing surface on the side there. And yeah, so this 4 thousandths won't fit in there. So the 3.6 thousandths will. So our clearance is good. And we're good to go. So, however, I do recommend doing that with a magnetic base and a dial indicator, because it's a little more accurate, because you can measure the actual movement instead of the gap, because, you know, things change. Okay, so let's get some bearings in here and continue with the piston rings as well. So this, you guys, this part's pretty simple. I'm just going to go through and do the bearings. Yeah. Okay, that bearing's in. I'm just going to show you real quick how to install the piston rings. I mean, it's very simple. Make sure you got the right ring in the right spot. Up. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but it says up. There you go. So that part faces up, but this is not the top ring. This is the second ring. It's got oil scraper on the side of it. Can you see that? Kind of like a little hook groove or something on the side, which scrapes the oil off the cylinder wall. But this, I just throw these in like this. It's super simple. Throw one end in the groove, lift one end up, spin it around, and it pops right on. And that's it. Same thing with the top ring. This one doesn't have a mark on it. Some piston rings will. There'll be a dot or an arrow or something like that indicating which side of the piston goes up, faces up, just like this. But this top ring can be installed in any orientation, so it doesn't really matter. So there we go. We're going to throw it in just like the other one. Spin it around, and it goes right in. And I like to have my grooves or my gaps opposite of each other. So this will be the front of the engine, really. Bottom ring is facing, you know, the bottom of the cylinder, and the top one is on the very opposite side. And as far as the oil rings, let's do those two. So this one goes first, right? This is the one that holds the oil right in there. And I don't know if you can see, but it's got, I don't know what those are called or how to explain them, but the other rings that go on top and bottom hold this in place basically. And the way you want to orient this thing in the piston, come on, is with those end pieces. See the end there, those need to be facing upwards and touching each other like that, kind of. So we'll just throw that on there. I like to have that right about in the center of the side there, right above the wrist pin. So that separation there, it's kind of hard to see once it's installed, but it's there. It's right there. Come on, there we go. See that? That'll go like that. And then you put the top and bottom ring on. And I like to have the gaps in the top and bottom ring about 45 degrees away from each other. So one there and one there. Doesn't really matter which one. And that's how I set up my pistons. So I'm going to do that with all the rest of these. And yeah. All right. Pistons are all prepped. New bearings, new bolts, new piston rings. Let's get them in the block. All right, guys. This process is relatively simple as well. Make sure you lube your cylinders pretty good. I like to use assembly lube again, just because we're assembling an engine, guys. You just use the assembly lube. That is what it's for assembling. So I will throw a bunch in each cylinder first. Don't be shy with the assembly lube, you guys. It's not going to hurt you. Then just take your finger, spread it around. If you need more, then add some more. Like I need some more. So we're going to put a bit more all the way around, just so we get an even coating. Oh yeah, that's way better. Okay. Stringy. I'll do the same thing for the bearings here. Throw a bunch of it in there before I even pull off the cap here, just to make sure both sides get plenty of lube, just like that. Now, go ahead and pull off the caps. Make sure you orient your pistons in the right direction. They're marked with a dot. And if you didn't separate your connecting rods from your pistons, then you don't have to make sure this goes in the right way. The dot on the piston here should face towards the front of the engine. So I'll just make sure the crankshaft is at bottom dead center on whatever cylinder you're going into. And then I will just gently set that right there. And then, where's my mallet here? I use an older style piston ring compressor, just because I don't have the ones that are specific to this bore. You can get ones that are the same bore size. So this is a 3.780 inch bore. So you can get it's just like a metal sleeve that is 3.78 inches, and it has a taper on the top, so when you push the piston into it, it compresses the rings, and then you can just push it in. You don't have to fiddle with this crank method and whatnot, but this is what I have, and I've been using this thing for over 10 years, and it works just fine every time. So make sure your piston rings are in the orientation that you want them in. I mentioned how I do it. You can look it up, and there's specifications on where the gap should go and stuff like that. Just Google it and use your better judgment. And this thing just compresses the piston rings. Make sure you're at a 90 degree with the journal, and then just tap it in place, and it's in. Now what you do is reach down here underneath, grab that rod as you're pushing it down, and just guide it onto the crank journal. That way it doesn't scratch nothing up, and then it goes into the right spot. Push it all the way down on there, and then throw the rod cap on there. Screw it in. You don't torque it right away. Just wait till you get them all on there first and tighten them bolts all the way down by hand, because you're going to be rotating this thing over a little bit while you put all the pistons in. I like to get all the pistons in before I do any torquing and whatnot. So there's that one. Now we can rotate this till this one's at bottom dead center and repeat. And then we'll do that with all of them, and then we'll flip it over, and then we'll go over torque specs and stuff like that. So I believe my gimbal has died. Let me fix that for you real quick. All right, pistons are in. Now we flip it over, torque it down. But I've got to just make sure everything rotates smoothly. Doesn't take too much force to rotate it. Everything seems good. So all smooth. Now let's flip it. It's a little bottom heavy now. And there we go. Now we can start torquing these guys. And the process is basically the same as the main caps. There's a torque spec and then an angle spec for these. So connecting rod bolts. The first design, 15 foot-pounds and then 60 degrees. The second design is 15 foot-pounds and then 85 degrees. So these are first design connecting rod bolts, so we're going to torque them as such. So first torque pass, 15 foot-pounds. We're already at 15. All right, rod bolts are torqued. Are we still, my mic still on? Are we still recording? Yes, we are. Sweet. Rod bolts torqued. Now we can get this timing set on, and I like to just rotate it, make sure there's no stiff spots and whatnot. Make sure it rotates smoothly, and everything's good. Okay, let's do a timing set. I got help. This is my daughter Freya.
Hi.
She stayed home from school today because she wasn't feeling good, so she's gonna help me out instead of being upstairs all alone all day. So first thing you want to do, let me bring you closer here. Come over here, you guys. Come on. You want to make sure your cylinder number 1 is at top dead center. And how you do that, you don't have your heads on yet, right? So you gotta, I mean, you can see when it's at top dead center. This sprocket on the bottom here has a little dot, and that'll also let you know once that's on the top. So this little dot right here should be facing upwards, and that will let you know that the cylinder is at top dead center. What you want to make sure is that your camshaft, this little dowel here, should be about 90 degrees from north and south. So that basically lets you know what the stroke is at. So this will be top dead center of the compression stroke. And also the timing set here has a little dot. Usually, sometimes on the stock ones it's a dot. This one's kind of like just a little divot or something like that. And that needs to line up with this. And as you can see, the little spot for the dowel is facing that way. So this should work just fine. Just make sure you line those up before you throw the chain on. And this should pop right in there, just like that. Perfect. Make sure, if you don't have your rear cover on yet, just make sure the cam doesn't slide backwards. I'm going to throw a little bit of assembly lube on the back of the sprocket there. That way it's lubed before we move forward. Come on. Just right here on these faces here of the sprocket. That way it doesn't want to score up the cam retainer plate here. So we'll just rub that in just a little bit. Don't need a whole lot, just enough so that there's a little bit of lube there. And we can just wipe that off on there. So let's throw that on there again. Okay, now that that is on there, your chain will have a little bit of slack. These truck engines didn't come with any sort of tension or nothing, and you don't really need it. Like, this is normal. If you want to install a tensioner, they have jigs on the interwebs that you can drill holes there and install like an LS style tensioner. That way it'll take the slack out of your chain there, but this is perfectly normal for these engines. So next step, I like to throw a little Loctite on the bolts here, just a little bit on the very bottom. And when you turn those in, then Freya's going to come over here and torque these down for me after I get them all in here. She knows exactly what to do. We got to look up the torque spec real quick. So let me look that up. There you go. That one's 26. Ooh, don't let it slip off there. There you go. 26. 26. Okay, just go through and make sure they all click again, because sometimes it changes. There you go. There you go. There you go. Okay, we got 26 foot-pounds. Now, what we do, we'll turn it over. It should take 2 rotations of this crankshaft for these to line back up again. So we'll go 1 rotation. All right. That dot's on top again, but this one's on top now, right?
Yeah.
So we got to go 1 more. And then they line up again. So now, what I like to do to get a little bit of lube on that chain, where's my, oh, it's over here. I just squeeze a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and then we'll just turn it over a couple more times. And, yeah.
And then we twist it.
Twist it. Bop it. Pull it.
It's sticky.
Yeah, it's gooey.
It looks like slime when you hold it out, and it just collapses in the middle.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do a little bit more there. Hold on. Yeah. I'll do it right here.
Let's be gluey.
Gluey. Just want to make sure this chain's nice and lubed, because lube is an engine's best friend.
Yep.
There we go. Look at that.
So it's so gluey.
So gluey. Okay, that'll do.
And now it's gone. It's just little strips of hair.
Some hair, huh? Oh, I should have been soaking them lifters. Oh, I guess we can put the oil pump on now. Okay, so we got this.
The oil pump. Oh, the oil pump.
Oil pump.
It's a pump.
It's a pump that pumps oil. Oh, my wedding ring came off. Let's turn this engine upside down here.
Upside down.
Yeah.
Turn it upside down. Oh, now this one's on the bottom.
Yeah. Let's get this oil pump on here. I mean, I've already got it on here, just hand tight, and there's a few different ways to install an LS oil pump. This is how I do it. Melly actually recommends you do it this way as well. I just get these hand tight. I like to put a little bit of Loctite on these bolts just so they don't come out, and so you don't lose oil pressure. Get these hand tight so this kind of wiggles a little bit, and then I'll dump a bunch of oil in here. I don't recommend installing these dry unless you're going to do the shim method, where you use you open this cover and use 2,000 shims or feeler gauges on, at least 3 of them, I think. You torque them down like that, and that'll shim it. But the oil that you put in here will kind of create a clearance around the whole thing as well. So that's how I like to do it. I've always done it like that. I've done it both ways and had success both methods. So But Melling, hold on. Melling recommends that you do it this way, and so that's the way I do it. What I do, don't install your oil pump dry. I'll just dump some oil down into it, fill it up. Hey, we're leaking. It's all right. There's already tons of oil on my floor here. Okay, and then turn it over a few times. Get that oil going throughout the whole thing. Just let that oil fill up and just make its own clearance. Okay, now we're going to torque these bolts, I believe, to 18 foot-pounds. And that is how I do that. You can do it whichever way you want to do it. Open this up, put some shims in there, then torque it down, put the cover back on. Foolproof method. Yeah, that way you know that the clearance around that is even, but I trust the oil to do its job, and yeah. Anyways, that's on there. We can cross that off the list here. I've got to soak some lifters, so let's do that. All right, guys, it's time to soak some lifters. I should have done this already, but, you know, stuff happens. So, we got the lifters. We got the oil. The old. I use a Valvoline VR1, by the way, in the engines that I build, 10W30, just because it has a 1.7 times more zinc for extreme wear protection. So basically what the zinc does is it forms a sacrificial layer on the bearings and stuff like that, and the cylinder walls and stuff, and it just coats everything nicely so that it's protected for the most part. I'm sure you can find a more detailed explanation on the internet, but I'm not the internet. So. All right, this video is already going to be 2 hours long. Sorry to say, but yeah. Anyways, the smell of the lube that these guys use on these lifters, amazing. I don't know why I love it so much, but it smells really good to me for some reason. Anyways, these are the LS7 style lifters. These are LS7 lifters, genuine GM LS7 lifters, and let me be clear when I say this that the LS7 style lifter is everywhere. Okay, so most aftermarket lifters are going to be LS7 style. You don't need to necessarily buy genuine GM LS7 lifters. That's what I do because they're made by GM, and I trust them more than any other brand of LS7 style lifter. So that being said, you could see the difference. Let me hold on. Let me get a comparison going here. I'm pretty sure I have already showed you the comparison. These are the factory GM lifters that they put in the LM7s and stuff like that. My dog is going crazy because she's... Frida, shut up! She's a little yapper. But this is the stock style roller lifter. The wheel is completely exposed, and it's just held in by these little uprights here, I guess you could call them. The LS7 style is much stronger, being that the wheel is completely enclosed, and this whole thing is just strength versus weak points here. You know, these could break off and, you know, cause a whole bunch of problems. Also, the surface for the lifter bore is a lot bigger on the LS7 style lifters. Also, these, if I am correct, The oiling hole where the oil goes in is facing, either the top of the engine or the bottom of the engine. So they sit in there like this at an angle. So what happens when the hole is right there is that it can bleed off a little bit easier because of gravity and stuff like that. On the LS7 style lifters, the wheel is here. They sit in the bore like this, and the hole is on the side. And that helps to prevent the oil bleeding out of the lifter. I don't know how much it helps, but it was a design change. So, anyways, let's throw these in here. I just use a little Tupperware dish and we'll throw them in and coat them in oil. We'll just soak them. With these, as long as they're somewhat upright, then they'll soak just fine. So, pretty much now, what we'll do is just fill this dish with oil and let these soak. You can let them soak for about an hour, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, or whatever you want to do. I'll just throw almost the whole quart in there. Oop. And yeah, you can see the bubbles already coming up. So yeah, we'll let those soak, and then that is the next step. I'll throw the lifters in, and then we can throw the heads on. Throw that to the side. Move this out of the way. Let those soak. And then, yeah, we'll just keep moving on. So, okay. So, for the oil pan that I'm using is one of the 302-2s. So it's a very low profile sump, and then it's low profile up to here, and then there's another little spot that's even shorter. But that one requires to cut the windage tray down a little bit so that it doesn't interfere with the oil pan. And basically what I do for that is just, after the 1, 2, 3, 4 fourth bolts from the back, just cut it right in front of that. And then you shouldn't have any clearance issues. If you do, then just cut it back a little bit further. It's pretty simple. But yeah, so we're going to just throw that on real quick. We'll probably put the pickup tube on there and measure some pan to tube clearance with my favorite precision measuring tool. I'm going to throw this on there real quick. This just goes on like that. These bolts. All right. So now we got to bust out that oil pan. We're just going to measure clearance. I don't think we're going to put it on for good yet because we still got to get the front cover and the rear cover on. I like to put those on before I put the pan on, just because you don't really need to have the pan on to get it level. I like to get it centered on the, actually we'll wait for the front cover, but I like to get it centered on, I like to get the main seals centered onto the crankshaft, and then those covers torqued down before I put the oil pan on. Because when you put the oil pan on first, then you're tempted to put them bolts in, the bottom bolts in to the covers before the covers are torqued down or whatever. And that can cause issues with the main seals. So I do it my way, and that's how I do it, and that's how I've been doing it forever, and it works every time. So you can do it however way you want to do it. I'm not telling you it's stupid or anything like that. Just do it however you want to do it. Coffee. Okay, so, oh no. Oh man. Well, that's fun. I ran over my Ultra Torque lube and it's all over the floor now. Now it's going to get all over everything. Stuff happens, you guys. Stuff happens. Just got to keep going. It's not even that big of a deal. As long as you're alive and healthy and not homeless, then it's not that big of a deal. That's what I tell myself usually when things go wrong and I start to get irritated and stuff like that. And, you got to just stop yourself because your mind goes places that you don't need to go. And so what I do basically is evaluate the situation. You know, am I hurt? Am I broke? Can I provide for my family still? Do we have a roof over our heads? If the answers to those are yes, or if the answers to the hurt ones are no, and the other ones are yes, then it's not that big of a deal. Anyways, what was I doing? Oh yeah, let's get this Windage tray on here. There we go. The tray has been windaged. All right. Now, oh, we gotta unbury this oil pan here. Hold on. Oh, the head studs. Oh yeah. We're using head studs on this one, you guys. But not ARP head studs. So, oh yeah, more parts. Hold on. Windage tray's on. Let's go over here. This is the aftermarket oil pan that we are using on this build here. This is one I've used from this brand multiple times. Never had an issue. I don't have to port the oil filter passages or anything like that with this brand. I don't know what your experience will be, but my experience with this brand, which is lab work. This is a Chinese copy of the Holley 302-2 LS swap low profile oil pan for F-body GM cars, I believe. I don't know. Anyways, I use this oil pan a lot just because it clears most everything. Comes with an oil pan gasket, which I don't ever use the gaskets. I mean, I guess sometimes I do, but you know, I usually just throw them up here. I've got about 30 of those sitting right there. But pickup tube here. This is basically all we need out of this box right now. But this aftermarket oil pan, they're pretty good quality for a copy. They come with hardware, drain plug. They come with the bolts for the pan itself. They come with a oil pickup tube O-ring and whatnot. And these pickup tubes have two holes for 2 bolts, so you can utilize the 2 holes in the oil pump instead of just the one. But yeah, here it is. I'm not sure why they polish this. Maybe so oil doesn't stick to it, whatever. But it's it's a mirror finish, you guys. It's crazy. Anyways, these oil pans are great. Yeah, I've never had an issue with these. They look pretty good. These come loose. I always throw a bit of Loctite on there and then put it back down in there. So there's that. That's the oil pan. We're going to put that back in the box and stow that away for in a couple minutes. But we need this right now. Okay, so these pickup tubes have gotten a lot better quality over the years, being that they started welding this completely around. When I first started using these pans, this wasn't welded all the way around like that, and it would suck in oil from here, and that's like bypassing the screen there. So, and it raises the usable capacity of oil. So didn't like that. So yeah, where's that oil pickup tube O-ring from the oil pump? We're not going to use the one that came out of the box because I don't know what kind of O-ring it is. The ones that come from Melly for the oil pump, I always use those. As you can see, it comes with 2 different kinds. and it comes with instructions. So depending on what kind of pickup tube you got, whether it's got an O-ring seat thing, oh, you see that, or whether it's a straight or tapered. Green O-ring is for the tapered one. The straight end, which looks like this one is straight, you use the black O-ring. So the green O-ring, green O-ring for both of these, and then the black one for this guy here. So that fits on there just like that. And this one would be too thick for that, so it doesn't even barely fit on there. Yeah. Anyways, let's throw that on there. Throw it in the dealy bob there, and yeah, I guess you guys need to see this part too. So let's go over here. Going over here. Okay, so this goes in here like this. All right. In. That fits nice and snug. I like that. And you see what I was talking about? There are 2 bolt holes, so you can utilize both of these bolts, which I like a lot because the factory style only have the one. And a lot of times you got to buy a separate thing from Improved Racing that allows you to use 2 of them. But this one helps so that your pickup tube O-ring doesn't move around, and this doesn't come loose and all that stuff. So here we go. Comes with 2 bolts as well. We're just gonna stick those down in there. And they are Allen head bolts as well. And also, I like to throw Loctite on these as well. As well. How many times did I just say as well, you guys? Okay, where's my... Yeah, sir, we're not installing this finally, so I didn't put any Loctite on here. But we're just going to snug it down a little bit and then tighten that just like that. Now, we'll tighten that down. Now, I guess we can use the gasket. We'll just use it, whatever. I usually do this part without a gasket on there, and then I just compensate for the difference, but this will work here. There we go. Grab some tape. Where'd my tape go? I'll just throw a piece of tape over this thing here. That way, the precision measuring tool doesn't get stuck in there. Now you grab your high precision measuring tool, which is Play-Doh of the color of your choosing. Let me take my gloves off here. So, we're going to use Play-Doh. I do this every time. You gotta, when you're dealing with Chinese copy anything, oil pans especially, you gotta measure the pickup tube to the bottom of the pan clearance. And what you're looking for is about 3/8 to 1/4 inch of clearance with the gasket and whatnot. So I just make a little cylinder like that, and I just stick it right on top of there. And what we're going to do is just take the pan, throw it on there, push it down. I felt it squish quite a bit, so push it down, make sure it's seated, squish that Play-Doh, and then that's pretty much it. You just pick it up. And I can tell it's too much already, so grab my calipers here. Inches. Okay, so then we just take this off of there and give her a little measure. We are sitting at, just at the thinnest point. It is, oh, that's millimeters. Inches. 0.6 looks like. 0.6. Can you see that? 0.6. So, a little too big. So then, what we're going to do, get this bolt off of here. So we need about 1/4 inch more. So we're gonna pop this pickup tube off of here. Get this bad boy out of here. I like that. It's nice and tight into the oil pump there. Pop that off, and then what we can do is try and bend this a little bit downwards, and that will lift up, or I guess it'll make this go down, but the engine's upside down, so for us it's going to make it go upwards, and we're trying to just adjust it to the right clearance. So most of the time, if I don't want to bend this too much, then I'll just stick a washer underneath of it, and that'll lift it up just a bit. So, but I'm going to see if I can bend this downwards like that, and then we'll see what that did. And you just go back and forth with it and out. Yep. Okay. Throw this nut back on there, and then do the same thing. Make that cylinder again, boot, or a rectangle, or whatever shape you want. Whatever your favorite shape is, just go ahead and do that. Now, gasket. Gasket doesn't have to be exactly in the right spot. It's not, as long as it's not up onto something that's not supposed to be on, then you're good. So, okay, sorry, my phone died. So, we got the thing on. We got the pickup tube on. I got the Play-Doh in there, put the pan down, squished it down, and this is what we got. So, this is looking way better. A lot smaller than it was. And so, this is what we're working with now. 3/8 of an inch. So, we're right where we want to be. 3/8 of an inch. So, that's good. We're going to stick with that. And actually, I might still throw a washer under this thing. And that'll be that. So, I like that clearance. I like it as it is, but I'm probably still going to throw a washer under it just to make it a little bit tighter. Bring it down to about 1/4 inch. But yeah, that is how you measure oil pan to pickup tube clearance. So, okay, so let's talk about these oil diverters real quick, just one more time. I know I've mentioned them before and why it's important to upgrade them in one of my last longer videos, but we're going to go over it again real quick. So what this does, this is the factory style. What this does is stop the oil from going past the oil filter. Basically, oil comes this way, hits this, goes up into the oil filter, or down. Actually, it's down when your engine is not upside down. It goes down into the oil filter and then back out of the oil filter through this way, and then this stops it from coming out of the back here, and then diverts it up into the, you can kind of see, no you can't, you can kind of see the oil gallery that goes up to the lifters, and then it goes down to the cams, and then it goes down to the main bearings. So the style of these from the factory, you can see the oil galleries from here. This comes straight from the oil pump. So, I mean, there's a block off here, but because they had to drill a straight line, it just made it easier for them after the casting, because this is cast into the block, obviously. You can see it. But after casting, it's all rough inside there, so they had to smooth it out, and they just drilled a big old, straight line through it. And that's what this does, is stops it from coming out the other side. Also diverts it into the oil pump, or the oil filter. So the oil pump pumps the oil. It goes this way a little bit, and then goes that way through this gallery here. And then the oil diverter, oops, this part will be in between these two galleries here. And it just diverts the oil to the oil filter, and then it comes back out. Goes down this way, goes this way a little bit, and then up into the lifter area. But there's no O-ring on this from the factory. The factory ones are like a whitish color. They're brown when you pull them out because they've been soaked in oil their whole lives. But there's no O-ring on this, and it doesn't fit very well. Ouch. Don't fit very well in here, and they let oil past these little ribs here. And what does this do? This stops the oil from going past it and goes into the oil filter. But if oil's getting past it, any dirt or debris that's in the oil is also getting past it. And I've seen these things full up, just full of like sludge and debris and stuff like that. So you know it's getting past that. People will argue that you don't need a billet aluminum upgraded oil diverter. Like, tell those people to go away. These belong in the trash because they're garbage. Horrible design. What is happening with my gimbal here? Can we turn, please? Horrible design. So we upgrade to this style. This is billet aluminum. It's got smooth edges for oil to flow and whatnot. It's got a threaded hole in the back so you can remove it easily if you ever need to remove it. It's got FKM O-rings. So this is an improved racing. This is a good manufacturer. There are Chinese copies, Chinese made, cheap ones, and that's okay. I mean, they work. Just make sure that the O-rings are of good quality. With those ones, it doesn't say what kind of O-rings you got, or if they're oil resistant or anything, and how long they'll last. These are FKM O-rings. These are, it says it right here on their thing, FKM. These 75A durometer. These withstand high temps and are very resistant to oil and even gasoline. These will never probably see any gasoline. I mean, if you get gasoline in your oil, then yeah, they will. But these fit in there nice and snug. And it has a sealing O-ring, so it's sealed. No oil's getting past this. No debris is getting past this, past your oil filter and into your lifters and stuff. I believe that a lot of people say these engines have problems with their lifters and stuff like that, always going bad and getting stuck and whatnot. And I believe it's probably directly related to the factory style of this, because after the oil bypasses the factory style thing with all the dirt in it, it goes directly to the lifters. And those little oil holes that I showed you in those lifters probably get clogged. And yeah, it's a wrap for those. So that's why we upgrade these. And I mean, don't let anyone tell you not to. I mean, you can. It's up to you, really. It's really up to you. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just saying, from my experience, I've seen those factory styles be full of debris, and I don't want to deal with that. So this is the way to go. Improved racing. You can get these on Amazon or from their website. Yeah, they make all sorts of stuff like catch cans and oil pickup tubes and whatever that thing is. It's the top of a thing. Anyways, upgrade your oil galley barbell. Just do it or don't. Anyways, I'm gonna throw that in. We're gonna flip this over and get some lifters in there, and then we can get the heads on, and then we can finish this puppy up and keep it moving. So, all right, guys, welcome to my chest. I just realized I haven't done a POV in this entire video yet. So here's them heads, looking nice and shiny. I gotta still remove some broken exhaust studs. I believe there's only one on this side, but two on this side. So we'll I think I'm gonna wait till I have the heads on, and I will do that with the welder. Yeah, I might be able to just get them out. Get them out with the drill and extractor. I usually try that first before what am I saying to you guys right now? I usually try that first before I bust out the welder and weld a nut to it. But these deep ones, I don't know if you've seen that, but these deep ones like that aren't sticking out at all, they're kind of hard. You got to get in there with a little like Dremel, get some fresh metal to weld to, and then just build up a little bit of weld so it sticks out a little bit. And then you can throw a nut on there and then weld the nut to it and then twist it out. It's pretty easy, pretty quick process. But yeah, anyways. Okay, let's get these lifters out of here and throw them in some trays here. This is the messy process here, but you know, it is what it is. These trays are nice and tight. These have been soaking overnight, by the way. It is the next day. Yeah, they should be plenty full up and good to go. Just gotta let them drip a little bit. This probably wasn't the best process to have you guys in the POV. But, oops. Yeah, there. Come on out there. I'll be alright. I'm just gonna hurry up and... Ah! Maybe I shouldn't just hurry up. Yep. Anyways, how's your day going? Hopefully pretty good. Still morning time for me. Gotta go pay rent this afternoon. What about you? Okay. Now that I have oil all over my... Oh, I didn't even flip the engine over yet. Dang it. I should have done that already. Let's do it now. Yeah. I was going to say, we can just lube up the lifter bores a little bit with that oil. So, these style trays only go in one direction. So, we're going to just bloop. I believe the little notches go down, face down. And boom. There's one set. Hopefully you just saw that. There's two sets. These are covered in oil. Try not to get it all over the deck. There's three sets. There we go. There's four sets. Now, let's grab that bolt. Oops. There is a torque spec for those, but you know, I think it's like 106 inch-pounds or something. So that's good. All right, now grab the old baby mallet, the old dowel crusher 10,000, the old dowel blaster. Oh, I gotta get the head studs in there. So we're using head studs on this engine. They're not, hold on. They're not ARP head studs. With ARP head studs, the clamping force changes so much from the factory style or the ARP bolts that you need to have it honed with a torque plate and the head studs in them, because the clamping force changes the shape of the cylinder basically because it's squeezing it so tightly. But these ones are PQY head studs, and they have just about the same amount of clamping force as the ARP head bolts. So we don't need to go have it honed or anything like that. They're a lot cheaper than ARP head studs. They are cheaperly made as well. But I've heard a lot of good things about them, and I've seen a physical stress test with them, and they actually performed quite well and better than the stock head bolts. So since this is a cam only build, we don't really need head studs, but I thought it would be cool to throw them on there and you know, If they don't work, then we'll send them back. Tell them they suck. But, yeah. So, oh, I need to get, dang it. I gotta run to the store. I mean, I do have 12-point sockets, but I don't know if I have the right size for these. But these are 12-point nuts and washers. The little studs. And then, you know, they throw in an extra stud in case one breaks, I guess. I don't know. A lot of the reviews have said that only one of them has broken, which I'm not too worried about. I have a good feeling about these. And, yeah. So, since this is a 2003 block, we got the kind with the 4 shorter studs that go into these two, and then the corresponding 2 on the other side as well. So, these are in a Ziploc bag. So these, I'm not sure. A lot of people saying use the torque specs from the ARP head studs, not the ARP 2000 head studs, because those go up to 100 foot-pounds, I believe, and that's when people are having issues with these. So the last torque sequence for these should be about 70 foot-pounds, is what I've heard. So I think I might need to clean out these. Oh yeah, there's some junk in there. Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna switch you guys over to the tripod view because it's gonna be a lot of, you know, and doing other stuff. I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff before we even throw those in there. So, yep. Okay, so downloaded some torque specs for ARP. These are for let's see, 2003 and earlier. So the ones with the 2 different length head bolts. Yeah, these are for, let's see, where's the part number? 234-4110. So any one of these, and they're not the ones that you torque to 80 or 100 foot-pounds or whatever. These are the ones, they only go up to about 70, and that's what's recommended for these head studs. So that's what we're going to use. So we already got the shorter ones in place here. I made sure to clean out the threads on these and then blow everything out with the compressed air. Where's my little tool that I made here? Excuse me, Freya. Freya's over here just drawing and coloring and stuff. So. I had, where did I put it? Oh, it's on here still. So, okay, so right when I grabbed this, my microphone died, and I went on for another 15 minutes explaining this and explaining these and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so what you want to do before you throw these in there is make sure your threads are clean. There's always junk in there, even if you have this block cleaned at the machine shop like I did. There's always just stuff all in there. So what I do is take an old head bolt and cut some grooves in it at an angle. I go about this angle right here instead of straight on like that. A little bit of an angle on each of them, just three is fine. And then you just run them in and out with your impact or whatever, and yeah, that cleans them out. And then what I also recommend is getting you one of these with, I mean, this doesn't have to be that long, but I use this for other things as well, like blowing out the old galleries and stuff. But you just stick it all the way down in the hole as far as it'll go down, and then push that button, and you'll be surprised at the amount of stuff that comes flying out of that, out of those holes. So that's how I do it. And you can even use a little bit of brake cleaner or something like that. And yeah, then I went on to say about these head bolts or these head studs. I chose this brand because I watched a video of a guy doing a test on all the different types of head bolts for these engines, and for other engines. But he tests the stock style head bolts. He tests the cheap the cheap factory style head bolts. He tests the Felpro factory style head bolts. He tests ARP head bolts. He tests both types of ARP head studs. He tests the bolts that you can get from the hardware store that are like grade 10 or something like that. And yeah, he tests all sorts of bolts. I'll try and link the video or something like that. And that way you guys can watch it and make the decision for yourselves. But that's why I chose these, is because these have about the same clamping force as the ARP head bolts. Not as much as the ARP head studs, which is good because that means I don't have to get this honed with a torque plate on by using these head studs. If I were to use 2000 ARP 2000 head studs, then the clamping force is so much greater than the stock style head bolts that it kind of changes the geometry of the cylinder and stuff like that. So you'd have to go in to a machine shop and get get it honed in all cylinders with a torque plate and those head studs on there. That way you can run those head studs. But these don't change that, and they're cheap. These were like 50 or 60 bucks, and the reviews on them are pretty good. Most of the older reviews say that one of them snapped out of the whole kit, but that's because they were using the ARP 2000 torque specs, which goes up to 100 foot-pounds, and these are not made for that. So yeah, so we're going to use this one, and the most torque on these is 70 foot-pounds, and I believe they'll be just fine. So let's get the rest of these in there. They give you a couple of extras. They give me an extra shorter one, and then an extra long one too, just in case one does snap, I guess. I don't know. They read the reviews and were like, oh, huh. There's probably an extra one of these too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope. I don't see why these ones would snap. They only go to like 26 foot-pounds. So those should be pretty good. But yeah, so I'm excited to use these. Like I said, I've heard good things. Do your own research. If you don't want to use them, then don't use them. Yeah, that's all there is to it. I know everyone's going to have their own opinion and try and voice their own opinion, but I don't really care. I mean, I do care about your opinions for the most part, unless you're calling me an idiot and stuff like that. And then it's like, whatever, dude. But that's fine too. If that's what you want to do, go ahead. It helps the algorithm. Any comment that you make, it doesn't matter what you say. It's just thanks for the comment. So, yeah. So we'll get these on there, and then get the head gaskets on, and then keep rocking and rolling. We got Freya over here coloring. What are you making?
A cat.
Cat. That's very good. It looks great. It looks better than the girls on the videos. One thing to note, yes, these do have a spot for an Allen head socket or something like that, but it's not for torquing these down. Don't torque these down in there. Just get them hand tight and then just kind of turn it back just, a smidge. And that's all you need to do. Yeah, don't torque these down, please. There's no reason for you to torque these down. Torquing them down doesn't do anything but potentially crack your block. Yeah, if there is any liquid or anything in there or something, So just don't torque them down. That's it. All right. I have two hands. Why am I not using them? These go just like this. Just like this. Yeah. Get on there. Come on now. Back it off a little bit. Guess I should have put this on there for the studs. But yeah, just always make sure and check that your bore on your head gaskets matches the bore on your cylinders, which this one does. So throw the other one on there. If your head gaskets aren't marked with the front, the tab on the bottom goes more towards the front side. So just a quick tip for you there. Get these guys on there. Get on there. Get in there. Okay. I do need a little paintbrush though. Fred, do you have a little paintbrush that I could use? Like a little watercolor paintbrush?
No. You can get one from upstairs.
That's what I meant. Oh. Yeah. Thank you. My daughter's gonna run and grab me a paintbrush so I can get some of that lube on the threads down in them holes there. So be right back. Let's get this other head on here real quick. Boom. Skadooks. Washer. Throw a washer on there. Get your washers on. Oh. Don't do that. Where's my magnet? Give me that. There we go.
You need a little cup of. Can I get a little cup of water?
No, I don't need a cup of water, Fred. I need it for this. I'm not doing watercolors. I just need the paintbrush. Thank you. She thought I wanted to paint.
It's mini.
That's perfect. Thank you. A little paintbrush for the ARP lube. Yeah. I think we'll just skip over this part. Just lube your threads and lube the underside of the bolt heads. And we'll come back when I'm done with that. Okay, so we have got all the nuts on. The threads are lubed. The underside of the bolt heads or the nuts are lubed. And now we can start torquing. I do need to run to the store and grab some 12-point sockets for the little ones because all I have is 12-point for the big one. So the order, actually we can just throw this right here. That's how I like to do it usually. Now we start in the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we got 25 foot-pounds to start. We can totally do those small ones last because that's usually how I do it with the stock style bolts as well. I torque all these throughout the whole 3 sequence, or on the stock style it's an angle, but you know, ARP bolts and all that. And then the 4th step is you just torque the small ones last. So we're gonna bump it up to 50 and then go through that again. And I think I'm just gonna put you guys on the stand here and do it that way. Okay, so those made it all the way to 70 foot-pounds, like butter. Now I just got to tighten these ones, but I got to run to the store first and get a 12-point socket for those. So we'll come back. All right, so I ran and grabbed a 12-point socket, 11 millimeter for these little studs, and we got them torqued down to 28 foot-pounds. And yeah, so that's how you put your heads on. Now let's get some rocker arms and push rods in this thing. And then I think that's going to do it for the video, because basically everything else is just, you know, the knock sensors, valley cover plate. Let's get these push rods, rocker arms and stuff in these heads, and we'll call it done. Push rods. The brand new push rods. These are 0.080, 7.4 inches long. Pretty much, I like to lube both sides of them. So we'll just get a bit of assembly lube on the tips here, just like that. And we'll just slide them into place here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, let's get you a little closer view here, and then we'll get these rocker arms in place. I like to lube the tips of the push rods and the springs as well. Oops, oh, we're leaking. It's okay. Just to get a little bit of lube in there for the first startup. That's really all assembly lube's for, you guys. I probably said that about 10 times in this video. That way, nothing is dry when you first fire this thing up, and you're going to have a good time. So, these go down like that. And we'll tighten these up just a little bit. When you're installing rocker arms, it's important to not just crank them all down and torque them all down. You know, there's a method. You gotta say, I'm doing these two, right? I want this cylinder to be at top dead center of the compression stroke. That way, these valves are supposed to be closed, and that way when we're torquing these down, we're not fighting the spring pressure, pushing up on the springs. Because if this one was supposed to be open, like on the you know, whatever part of the stroke, this exhaust valve is supposed to be open. While you're tightening this down, it's gonna try and push this spring down, and while you're torquing, you're fighting the spring pressure, and it could give you an off torque measurement. And yeah, so that's why we just put them in a couple threads, and then we turn the engine over and get top dead center on the piston that we want to tighten down the rocker arms on. So these, we can push the push rods down, which will push the lifters down onto the cam, and then we can rotate the engine and find top dead center of the compression stroke for that cylinder as far as top dead center on that one. So we can go ahead and tighten these down. So these ones get torqued to 22 foot-pounds. So we're going to set our thing here. Where are we at? 28, 25, 4, 3, 2. 22 foot-pounds. And as you're torquing them down, there you go. You can see that this one's a little crooked, and they do move side to side just a little bit. So what you do is you just hold it while you're torquing it down. Make sure it's centered on the valve. So that's 22, nice and centered. Do the same with the next one. 22 there. And then you just do the same thing with all the rest of them. So this one, we want on top dead center of the compression stroke. Torque these down, top dead center compression stroke, torque these down, top dead center compression stroke, torque those down. It's very simple. So let's do that. All right, you guys, let's replace some main seals real quick before we throw these covers on. And yeah, this is how I do it. A lot of people tell you just to replace the whole cover. Why? That's a, you know, their arguments are that the rear main seals are cheap and they never fit in here, but I've never had that issue. Every main seal that I've gotten fits perfectly nice and snug in there, and it seals just fine. So I don't see the point in replacing the whole cover when you can just replace the rear main seal. Doesn't take that long. Get a little bit of heat on it, and yeah, about all it takes there. Get you a flathead, and ooh, that's hot. It's hot. And yeah, pain in the butt. Another way that works is just grab you a dead blow. You know, this one don't want to come out. This is the most stubborn one I've ever had. That one really don't want to come out. Usually they just pop right out. Okay, so. Okay, these, we got them out. Those were a pain in the butt to get out. Well, this one came right out, but this one, man, I've never had that much trouble getting them out of there before. So, basically what I do, after you get them out, push the new ones in. And I have these like centering tools that, you know, you're supposed to use to center them on the crankshaft and stuff, but you don't need to do that. They're pretty easy to get on without these tools. So I just use them as drivers. Just to make sure they get in there properly and all the way. This one can go down a little bit more. That's that. That one's in. Same thing. And these are nice and tight in there. I can't push them in with my hands, so. Nice and seated. Alright. Main seal's done. Alright. So, I know I said I was going to show you how to put the covers on and stuff like that. I just went ahead and did it. It was frustrating me. Yeah, anyway, so that's going to be the end of this video. It's kind of long, but there's a lot to it. It really is pretty simple. You just got to get in there and do it. That is the end of this video. That is how to build an LS engine, LS based, you know, Vortec, whatever. They're all the same. The build process is the same and whatnot. So this one is gonna be rad. It's got the sloppy stage 3 cam in it, higher lift springs and whatnot, and it's gonna be cool. There's not that much left to do besides to put the, you know, the valley cover in and the valve covers on, intake, and a couple of finishing things. I still have to do a couple of things to those that, you know, aren't really relevant to the actual engine build. But stay tuned for the next video because I'm going to be showing you guys how to turn a stock harness into a standalone harness. You guys remember that fuse box that I got from BP Automotive? We're going to be using that and turning a stock harness that came with this engine into a standalone harness, and we can kind of put the connectors and the PCM wherever we want. When you do it like that, when you buy a standalone harness, especially the cheap ones, you're kind of stuck with how they did it. I like to get the engine all put together and then strip the harness down, lay everything out on the engine with no loom or anything like that. That way I can manipulate where I want the fuse box to be. Depends on where the customer wants it and whatnot. But we'll go through stuff like that, what wires to remove and where to get your pinouts and basically everything, just how to do it. So stay tuned for that, and then we'll go through and I'll do a full bass tune video, how to do it for free, basically. All you need is the connector, the bench harness, maybe if you want to do a bench harness, depending on what connector you have and how fast you can do it. But we'll go through all that in a different video as well, so stay tuned for those videos, you guys. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for following me. If you don't follow me already, hit that follow button, subscribe, whatever platform you're watching on. This will be posted to Facebook and YouTube. Not really TikTok, because people on TikTok don't like the long videos. But yeah, good luck with your builds, guys. I want to get the car community back to what it used to be when I was heavy into it, where people built their own stuff instead of, you know, financing it. So it seems like nowadays the car meets and stuff today is just a big like, hey, how much money did you finance for this car? Or, you know, how much money do you spend? It's like, I'm not, you know, I don't really like that. I don't have a whole lot of money to finance things, so I do it myself, and I want to get people doing it as well. So get your project car off the stands in your driveway, finish it up yourself, and there's a lot more reward when you do it yourself like that. So anyways, stay tuned for the next videos, you guys, probably in a week or two. Yeah, I got to get this video out. It's been delayed because of the cam bearings and stuff like that. So we're going to end it here. And yeah, thanks for watching. Go watch my other videos. I have a lot of shorts on how-tos and whatnots and what to do's and what to don't do's and all that good stuff. So thanks for watching, you guys. I appreciate you. LS swap everything. And have a good one.